Well, here we are. Thank you very much, Nuria, for giving me the floor. And good morning, bon dia, and thank you very much to all of you. Thank you, Valentina. Welcome. You were kind enough to accept our invitation when we were discussing in Brussels with our lead partners from Josep Rodriguez, from the Barcelona Provincial Council. And we wanted to offer you an experience that we have been living for the last 6 years with the sustainable tourism community. So here it is. We have around 30 projects, all committed to deliver a more sustainable and responsible coastal and maritime tourism. And we've been working together for the past 6 years. We're ending a framework, but we are looking ahead because the new Euromed program has, as you know, a specific mission for sustainable tourism. So this community stays alive. And we're looking at Europe. We're looking at you because we strongly believe that we have a role and we can contribute actively in the tourism transition pathways. We have all read the document, yes? But we would like you to present us the document, the topics, what is inside, but especially what kind of connections we can establish. So Valentina, the floor is all yours. Thank you very much. Can I go? Whatever you want, the stage is yours.
No. Yes. Yeah. Good. Buenos dias. And there I end. I'm sorry. My Spanish is simply not good enough. But it's so good to be in Barcelona, so nice and refreshing. So thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity. Thank you to the authorities for their inspiring context. Now, from my part, I have 3 main messages, 3 main things from my side that I would like to bring to your kind attention. The first one is that I think without complacency, you should be aware that your community is an example of excellence in terms of particularly cooperation across regions and countries, addressing shared common challenges, and then eventually applying tailored solutions. For what is a definitely topical thing today, which is sustainable tourism. So first of all, example of excellence. At the same time, we think that your community, your way of working, should be useful, let's say, not only for yourselves, but also for many other communities and areas in Europe. So actually, my second message is well done indeed, but please continue sharing your practices and continue to be engaged. We have just heard how important it is to be continuing engagement. And then the third message, last but not least, I would say from my side, is that the Commission, Europe, and the European Commission in particular, is committed to support tourism. So this is our clear policy goal. And when we do so, we have in mind at all times 2 dimensions, the short-term dimension and the longer term one. So now going back to you, again, let me reiterate that I think, and we think, we are a team, of course, in the European Commission dealing with tourism. We think that what you have achieved over the years with this community is an example for others. And many challenges, and in particular, those aiming at a more sustainable, greener tourism, can only be addressed by joining efforts and learning from each other. Again, let me reiterate the importance that many of the results that have been achieved by your community can be inspiration for other regions in Europe. And from our end, what I can promise is that we will ensure that your experience and lessons are shared across Europe and can bring value also to others. Now, let me take a step back and let me say you a few words about what we are doing for tourism in general. First of all, you should know, and I think this is not necessarily known, that the European Commission has identified the tourism as one of the main 14 industrial ecosystems in Europe. So this is a recognition in itself of the importance of the tourism industry, or if you want, ecosystem. It's not just because we want to be nice. I think this is the recognition of the importance of this ecosystem. We are talking here at European level about a major contributor to the EU economy, representing overall in Europe 10% of GDP in Europe. In some areas, much more than that. In Spain, for example, it's more than that. In the Canary Islands, we go up to 30%, more than 30% of GDP. So that's a big economic importance. But as I also boringly repeat, it's not just about the economy, it's about the people. So it's a socially important ecosystem. It represents in Europe more than 23 million jobs. So I think these figures tell by themselves why we do care for tourism at the European level. And we know that in a way it's interesting, because I think that with the pandemic, as you know, has hit tourism the hardest, minus 70% overall in Europe. And that, which was, of course, a disgrace, it was a very a negative event. At the same time, it was, I think, also because of that Europe has realized how important tourism is for Europe, for Europeans, for the citizens, for the economy. And that has made that we have put in place all our efforts and tools in order to ensure the speed recovery of the ecosystem, because that was a very short-term challenge. By the way, immediate results for the moment, they look quite good. The prospects for tourism at this point in time are quite good, but we are aware of the need to continuously monitor the situation. So this is short-term, but then we are at the same time working together with all the stakeholders, so also with you, for a more, let's say, a better tourism for the future. And what is a better tourism of the future? It's, we think, and I think you also think, that this is an ecosystem that should be more sustainable, sustainability, which is environmental and social sustainability. It's a more resilient ecosystem and a more digitally enabled one. And it is with that in mind that we have indeed proposed this tourism transition pathway. What is it? Pathway. It's a kind of, not perhaps a very sexy word. It's a roadmap. It's a methodology, and sometimes methodology can be as important as substance. So we have thought, how can we make this happen? How can we really make this transition of the tourism ecosystem be real, and not just words, and not just a strategy? We have to walk the talk. Hence, we need to co-create together with all the stakeholders, and there are many stakeholders in tourism. It's a very heterogeneous ecosystem, as you all know better than me, we need to have everybody on board. We need to co-create solutions, concrete solutions against the background of agreed areas for intervention and objectives. So this is what the transition pathway is. Let me just give you quickly some examples of what are the projects, the topics on which we are working on as a result of this co-creation process. So it's not us inventing topics, they come bottom up to us. But they nicely coincide with our policies. For example, we are promoting sustainable and smart mobility. We also are encouraging SMEs. This is an ecosystem, it's an industry where a vast majority of the businesses are very small businesses, family businesses. So there is a specific attention to be given to them, to help them, to support them, to adopt more, let's say, green practices, improve circularity. For example, helping them to uptake the EU Eco label, you know that, for tourist accommodations, EU Eco management, for example. We are also supporting energy efficiency and renewable energy use, sustainable use of natural resources, think of water, land, reducing waste generation, like food waste, of course, and single-use plastics. But also, another example, we are, thinking of how to, well, it's more than thinking, we are working on how to measure. It's about measuring environmental footprint. And so this is not an artistic exercise, it's a data, it has to be a database-based exercise. And we are advancing by gradually including sustainability data and indicators into tourism statistics, whether this is through the tourism satellite accounts, the tourism dashboard. We are working on a dashboard with indicators to measure sustainability across Europe. But also, we have to facilitate data sharing amongst the tourism stakeholders in order to improve a sustainable tourism destination management. Let me mention a topic which I think, based on my, some, quite lengthy experience in this field, I think it's crucial, the skills. Well, let's not even go into the question of the current skills shortage, because there is a skills shortage which is a very short-term preoccupation. But beyond that, there is the need to adapt the workforce to calibrate their competencies to what will be a different future. Because if we think, let's think of the 23 million jobs, if we don't bring the people with us, this will be a problem. So we are working on pacts for skills, meaning that we are working together with the industry, with the education establishments, vocational training bodies, and we are, first of all, carrying out a mapping. So we are mapping all the skills needs for the sectors in the years to come in view of the transition that is needed. And we need to gather, and we are gathering already, starting to gather already pledges and support for training and retraining paths. So we need to train and retrain people for them to follow the transition. At the same time, all these are projects, are topics which are very important. But, and I make the link with something that was said before. If you think of it, all these ambitious project will not happen if we don't have everyone on board. And to have everyone on board, it's also fundamental to raise awareness raising. So we are committed to do the maximum to raise awareness of the businesses, but also of the tourists, because at the end it's each of us, it's each tourist who should be aware and contribute to the transition of the ecosystem. We know that there is an interest in tourists, in citizens, to follow more sustainable practices. We have carried out surveys, and we know that there is a wish to do so, but we need to build on that. We need to continue spread the word and raise awareness. Let me mention now just, of course, that all this, I've not forgotten that this is not just, a project without support. Of course, we are aware that all this transition, and we hear that this transition will need substantial investments. So clearly, this will need to take place, is taking place. Here, my main message is the Commission, the European Commission, Europe knows that. By the way, as you, I'm sure, know, of the current 1 trillion multi-annual financial framework, more than half will have to go to sustainability and digitalization projects, including, by the way, the Next Generation EU with the recovery plans. But then there will have to be, of course, also private investments and public-private partnerships. So this will also have to be present. And from our part, perhaps I should draw your attention to an online guide that we have published with the intent to facilitate understanding and also knowledge by all the stakeholders of what could be the financing possibilities at European level. So we have an online guide. Now, just to conclude on the pathway, this pathway is really an interesting experience. By the way, you should know that the tourism is the first one that the European Commission has launched of the 14 industrial ecosystems. I think this means something in itself. And of course, this has, it gives indeed the idea of the importance of tourism. At the same time, it also means that we are experimenting, because this is a new exercise. And what we are discovering is that this transition pathway is a process, is not an event. It means that it's a roadmap that will continue to be worked on by all the stakeholders in order to, at the end of the day, achieve results. What does it mean? It means that we have published a document, we have proposed areas, we have proposed actions, but now we need commitments. So we need to go the extra mile to move from words to action. We have received, for your information, contributions from all over Europe, from more than 120 organizations. That's not too bad, but there is still more to do. About 30% of the pledges that we have received so far are topics related to the green transition. So again, good, but perhaps still better to be done. There are already some good examples from the Mediterranean regions. And these are there. Avitem, for example, Agence des Villes et Territoires Méditerranéens Durables. So this is to be mentioned as a good commitment. But I guess that my plea to you today is. Please contribute, please help us, please continue to share your commitments. we, from our side, we are we are building up a structure in order to, including, by the way, workshops with stakeholders, with experts, including a platform. We are working on a platform in order to be able to collect and to share these commitments. But also, of course, we will foresee a monitoring mechanism. So what I'm trying to say with this is that we really, first of all, want to continue with gathering commitments. And we need your cooperation, and this will be a longer-term effort and not just a one-off. So I already thank you for joining us. Just one last word, because I keep hope alive. So all this exercise, I hope will not only be useful in itself, but also we are providing the basis for a European agenda for tourism. So we are working together with member states, so with all 27, in order to have a concept and a strategy and a roadmap for tourism at the horizon 2030-2050. And we are making progress. We are making progress, and we do hope to have a meaningful text, to start with the text, by at the end of the Czech presidency, which will be the end of this year. So thank you very much for having taken the time to listen to me. But I'm ready now to engage. If you have questions or comments, feedback. Feedback is always precious to me. Constructive feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valentina. I think you managed to give us a very comprehensive overview on not only the commitment, but the action that is being taking place and having the endorsement of the highest representative at the European Commission, which is Commissioner Breton, and that you represent today. You also said we are an example of excellence, and I would like, on behalf of the community, to thank you for this recognition. What I think we are an example is about keeping alive a community. All our partners are committed to deliver sustainable tourism through a better use of European funds. And this is what we are here. So we recognize we don't have all the answers. We still have many questions, but we identify the link with the pathway because we see it as a journey. We are together, we have targets for 2030. And we believe on comprehensive sustainable tourism strategies. There is a specific link with the pathway that we would like to collaborate further. So you need us, we need you as well. We will be there. May I ask our colleagues from Univet who are managing everything here, can we already have questions? We have one question here, Valentina, that is shown in the screen. I'm going to read it for you. It's from our colleague, Anna Monice. You have Anna here. Tourism is a cross-sectoral activity involving transport, culture, environment, and if we are towards a green and digital transition, we need to work with other sector stakeholders. How is the tourism transition pathway going to involve other EU stakeholders? Are other director generals at European Commission, besides DG GROW, and other institutions like Eurostat that are going to be involved, especially you mentioned about data and about measurement in a different way? So the question is how we can involve other stakeholders that are not part of the tourism ecosystem and other DGs at the European Commission. Please.
Yes, indeed. Of course, this is a very good question, which goes straight to the nature of the tourism ecosystem. You mentioned transport, culture, environment. So when I think of tourism, I think at least of 4 dimensions. Indeed, there is the transport infrastructure. There is the accommodation sector, which, by the way, is complexifying because it's not only now traditional accommodation, but it's also the short-term rentals, increasingly so. The third strand is all the, what I call the services, be them digital, platform-based, or more traditional services. And the fourth strand is indeed all connected ecosystems. So it's culture, very important, and enogastronomy, at least, I would say. So indeed, this is an extremely complex and heterogeneous ecosystem. And I think this is precisely the reason why we have now engaged into this methodology of also transition pathway. It's because we have realized that if we do not engage across the board, across sectors as much as possible, we will simply not succeed. So this is indeed a major coordination exercise, which does not mean, I think, also based on experience, that everything should be done by the tourism community, meaning that think of the decarbonization of transport. By the way, it's very topical now. It's in discussion in Parliament. It was yesterday, the Fit for 55 package, including maritime and other forms of transport with the emission reductions. Of course, there is specific legislation, there are specific knowledges that have to be used, and those should continue to be used. So there is a transport filière which is there, which is working, which should be continue working. But I think that the value of having a sort of tourism also entry point or label is that to federate, to try to federate across the different dimensions so that they make sense also from an holistic perspective. In other terms, that it's not just the transport alone or the culture alone or the enogastronomy alone. That being said, it's not an easy exercise, it's a difficult exercise. I can tell you that in the Commission, we are now working very well, proactively, with the many departments. It's quite incredible. I think that tourism probably is it's the most transversal of all my, certainly of all my topics, and probably of many topics. Because if I can give you the example. So we are working with, of course, DG Regio for the structural funds. We are working with DG Employment for the social fund for the skills. We are working with DG Move for the decarbonization of transport. We are working with DG Connect for all the digitalization things. We are working with DG Environment because they are also leading some of the regulatory, in particularly initiatives that have an impact on tourism. So we are doing that. I think it's a calibration exercise because, I think it's irrealistic to think that everything can be done by the tourism community. So it's simply realistic. So it's a matter of, having the different strands of work go, but at the same time give the tourism perspective, to inject the tourism perspective, and also with the tourism perspective trying to influence also the other strands of work. So it's perhaps a light coordination steering exercise. That's how I would perhaps define it. So we are doing it. I know that for member states it's not a straightforward exercise either. By the way, I know that some of the tourism attaché in the various permanent representations of the member states sometimes struggle because themselves they have to deal with many different different council formations, because you have transport, but you have also others, the environment, the climate, etc. But I think we have a good case. But I think that we need to, and this is perhaps my last point, so we are trying to do it in the European Commission, but we need you also to do the same exercise within your constituencies, meaning to try to coordinate within also the national fora. By the way, a regional fora, because tourism many times it's a regional competence. So we really need to be holistic and proactive and convincing. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Valentina, for your clear answer. Yes, we're running out of time. Just to say that count on us. We will be presenting over the day some of our deliverables. We are gathering catalogs of good practices with this concept of what are our outcomes, concrete outcomes from our projects that can be recycled and that can be transferred to somebody else, but it can be mainstream into policies. And that's why we have the Barcelona Councillor, the Catalan tourism government with us, who are ready with their commitment to support this in building these comprehensive tourism strategies, but also to make a link with the European funds. We are producing a handbook because we need examples. Our community needs more examples on how we translate the European agenda, the global agenda with Glasgow into the territory. So this work is to be continued. Count on us. And here, I think, there is an invitation to maintain this dialogue in the European Week of Regions and Cities. So there is more work beyond the event of today, so we hope to count also with you in all this along this journey. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. You can count on us, and I am sure I can count on you. So meaning, indeed, we need you and your commitment to continue, and I know you are doing that. And again, by the way, you are a good example. So also helping others.
Thank you, Valentina. Count on us. Back over to you, Nuria. Thank you very much.